All right. Lesson number two, pleasure is not happiness. And the more pleasure you seek, the more unhappy you become.
Yep. So I've lived this myself, and I think probably a lot of people have. And it's basically what happens in addiction. I wrote a whole book about this, The Hacking of the American Mind. There are two neurochemicals, and they're not the same. There's dopamine and there's serotonin. And dopamine is the pleasure neurotransmitter, and serotonin is the contentment or the happiness neurotransmitter. And what we've learned is that everything that makes dopamine go up makes serotonin go down. And so the more pleasure you seek, the higher your serotonin rises, the more unhappy you get, the lower your serotonin goes. And if you don't know the difference between pleasure and happiness, if those two are confused and conflated within your own mind, which, by the way, is what industry has done to us over the last 50 years in terms of confusing the two, like open happiness, Coca-Cola's happy hour, 5 o'clock somewhere, all of those. And, I can run the litany of them, but we don't have time. If you think they're the same, you're doomed. You're just doomed. And I think that's what's going on in American and probably really all over the world right now, is the misunderstanding of these two basic human emotions. There's this thing that Aristotle called eudaimonia. It was not high-fiving. It was, basically sitting on a rock is what it was. And we've lost sight of that. There's a fast food restaurant within 200 feet of wherever you're standing right now. And that's on purpose.
First of all, let me confirm it's true in Australia, and it's also true in Brazil, where I am today. But it's just true. I mean, pretty much all around the world. And your point is, it's not an accident. There are people out there. They're called marketers. They basically insidiously try to cause you to conflate the notions of pleasure, happiness, joy. Joy is another one I would lump in there. And those are very distinct states. So I don't think it's an accident that you refer to the ancient Greek philosophers. They're the ones that started wrestling with this. People need to be clear, and we're not. Human beings are not clear about what makes them happy.
Indeed. Everyone says that that's the single most important thing, is to be happy. And we do everything we can to deep six it and basically shoot ourselves in the foot.
Very true. Well, I was going to ask you, how do you think this conflation came about? Well, you've already answered it.
There's money in it.
Yeah. Bottom line is, there's money in it to make you feel that way. So therefore, we must exert some effort to resist it accordingly.
And the things that actually increase your serotonin, the things that have been actually empirically shown to increase serotonin and improve happiness, are all free. And in the book, I actually described the four, and they're the 4 C's. Connect, and that does not mean on Facebook. That means face-to-face. Contribute, and that does not mean to your 401k. That means to others. Cope, and that's sleep, exercise, and mindfulness. And finally, cook, because there are actually foods that improve serotonin, and there are other foods that deplete it. They happen to raise dopamine. So those are 4 things that anyone can do. So happiness is within the reach of every single person on the planet if they know what to do.
Let me stop with cooking, for example. I know you're a cook. You're interested in cooking.
Oh,
I'm one of
I'm
those.
interested in food.
I'm one of those guys. I loathe to test all cooking shows, and all cooking shows are everywhere I ever go. I don't understand why people get so enamored. But you said something, or I read something that you said, that actually made sense. And I'll paraphrase because I can't recall it correctly. If you don't know how to cook, if you don't know how to prepare your own food, you'll be eating food that's prepared for you by companies, people that really don't have your best interest at heart.
If you don't know how to cook, you're hostage to the food industry for the rest of your life. That's their goal. And actually, that's what's going on in schools today. Schools are getting fast food brought in, and they've taken their cafeterias and food preparation facilities and turned it into classrooms. Okay. Because Cisco and McDonald's and other vendors were very happy to get their claws into schools to get them to actually turn the infrastructure over. So now they're hostage, so that you can't even get a home cooked meal at school. And you know what? That's why kids' grades are suffering today. And we've actually shown that if we reverse that, we can raise grades within a year.
You had a quote I read somewhere, a lot of health problems, and let's include mental aspects as well. Sure, they're not druggable, but they're foodable. We can be treated with a lot of illnesses with food, good, healthy, normal food.
That's right. In fact, what we've learned is that the problem in chronic disease, okay, and I'll name them real quick: type 2 diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia, fatty liver disease, polycystic ovarian disease, okay? 8 diseases that are continuing to go up inexorably throughout the world, but especially here in the United States. Turns out all of these are mitochondrial diseases. Mitochondria are the little energy burning factories inside all our cells. Medicines can't get there. They can't get there. And because they can't get there, they can't fix the problem. There is no pill for this. What does get there is food. The problem with food is that certain foods get there and help, and other foods get there and poison the mitochondria. And the biggest poison to mitochondria is sugar. And that's the one we give infants and call it love, which is the problem.
Yeah.